Welcome back to Roofing Explained with our roofing expert, Mr. Mike Feasel, and we are talking about a part of the roofing process here that is oftentimes overlooked, and that is those materials being delivered to your project. Listen, you could have the best installer in the world, but those materials better be on point because they are what you're going to have to live with for many years to come. And so, Mike, these materials being delivered, there's a whole process revolved around it, and we're going to be talking about that today. So when it's that time for a roofing project to begin, that's where the rubber hits the road, okay? It's that day or the day before, and that's my first question for you. I'm a homeowner. Maybe I've never had my roof replaced. When should I expect materials to begin being delivered to my home?
So it should be, you don't want it the week before, right? Preferably the day before. They take up space. Now, many of the manufacturers today, or the distributors today, will put them on the roof. Some contractors prefer them on the roof. Other contractors don't want them on the roof. They want them on the ground. So, and that can depend, very dependent on the project. Is it super steep? Is there a lot of space? Or is it a walkable roof that's easy to place them on the roof? So there's a number of things. Every project will be different. But at the end of the day, they need to be brought in, I would say, no more than a few days in advance. They have to be stacked properly, whether on the roof or on the ground, covered, right, and everything nice, neat, and in order.
You mentioned it just right there, a distributor. Can you walk us through a little bit of how maybe you call it the life cycle of materials? Because I think, take for granted in the industry how the life cycle rolls. But it probably is not going to be, or maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, the contractor actually showing up with the material. And this might be alarming to a homeowner. Walk us through exactly what it looks like, how this whole process works with manufacturers involved. What's it about?
Yeah, great question. So distribution happens, the manufacturers manufacture, the distributors, which are at the local level, the supply houses. They're receiving this material in by semi, and then they're bringing it out on flatbed trucks that also have typically a forklift, a piggyback forklift. And they're the ones that are bringing it out. Some are bringing them out with rooftop equipment that has conveyors that then send the material up to the roof, depending on how it's ordered, depending on that project and what's needed. So, yeah, and then the roofing contractor shows up. He's the one that has the relationship with the supply house, right? So it takes this whole, there's a lot that goes in, the weight of a roof, the size of a roof. It's the largest construction project on the exterior of a home, and usually the most costly, and also the most critical. I mean, it's protecting the entire home. It's protecting everything. So it's extremely important.
How do you advise a novice homeowner to inspect materials that are going on their roof? Or is it even possible for them to inspect what's going to be going on top of their roof?
I mean, other than visually walking around the material that's on the driveway, unless for me to walk around and look at the material as a roofing contractor for all these years, sure, I can look and make sure that the ends of the bundles weren't, it didn't drop and it's damaged, right? Visually, I can look at those things. But collectively, no, there's not. I mean, if things look to be out of sorts, take pictures, text it to your contractor and say, hey, they delivered this, and I'm seeing 20 pieces of tile that are damaged. But even if those tiles are damaged, that contractor is not going to necessarily use that damaged tile. He might cut half of that tile and use it along an edge that needs a cut anyway. So the contractor is going to know how to deal with that. He has to have enough quality material to install the roof. And again, as I say in many of our different videos we've done, it goes back to who's the contractor? What are the reviews? How long have they been in business, right? How are their Google reviews? So really knowing who are you doing business with is the most important piece in all of this. The right contractor answers all of your questions.
There you go.
Without the concerns.
But I do believe it's important that, especially there is going to be sometimes waste, even upon delivery. Just because you see a couple cracked tiles, as you said, doesn't mean that they're going to be using that. I also think that one of the things I've noticed that homeowners they'll see that the shingle bundle, perhaps the outside plastic that wraps it that says the manufacturer's name, they see some rips in that. And they think, well, that must mean that the product underneath it is damaged. And that is not necessarily the case. No. Sometimes this stuff is moved on forklifts. There might be rips.
Yes.
And I think that there's just maybe a negative connotation that it's going to come and it's going to look pristine. Folks, we're talking about shingle here that's stored in a yard that's manufactured. It's sharp, sometimes has sharper edges.
Yes.
A homeowner should take that into account, in my opinion.
Absolutely. The packaging can't look perfect, right? It was manufactured at a manufacturing facility many, many miles away, hundreds of miles away, then brought on a semi to a distribution center, offloaded, and then moved around that supply yard for a while, a few different times, and then put onto a flatbed, right? There's all of this handling of the material. So, no, the packaging won't look pristine for sure.
No.
Yeah.
I'm going to give a homeowner there something that they easily can do, and I'd love to hear your opinion about this, Mike. You know, on your estimate, you may get a type of shingle that they say they're going to use, a class 4, whatever shingle it might be. Or perhaps you're a homeowner who is educated somewhat on the type of material you want them to use. My suggestion is always to go out there and read the package. I have seen at times where the wrong roofing material is put onto a roof simply by clerical error. You may not know the most about it, but if you're supposed to get a certainteed shingle, might want to make sure that it's a certainteed bundle of shingle out there and not a different brand. Some of these simple things that you can check that could save you.
Yeah, 100%. The brand, the color. You know, again, your contractor should be checking that as well, but it doesn't hurt for you to look and, you know, or the valleys, the metal that's going to be installed underneath the shingles. But you're going to see some of that metal where two transitions come together, and you thought you were going to getting it in black, and it's white or it's brown.
Yeah.
Now's the time to notify that contractor and say, hey, just so you know, I'm sure you would catch this, but it's white and I want black.
Talk to me about the process itself, your average residential home, to get these materials onto the roof and to get the project done. What is an average timeline that someone should expect for your average home? Is this something that as they're looking at it should be weeks at a time? Is it weather dependent? What are your thoughts on that, Mike?
Well, very weather dependent. If there's a super high probability of rain, you know, in the summertime in many parts of the country, there's a chance of thunder showers every day. You're working every day, right? But if it's an all-day soaker, right, you just know it's going to rain all day, then, of course, you don't go out and start the projects. But your typical roof, barring weather, is going to be done in a day. A great question. A smaller contractor will typically be longer. They won't have as big of a crew. But your mid-sized to larger companies, they're knocking most jobs out in a day. Good companies are going to be in and out in a day. They're going to put the right workforce on it. They don't want exposure to the weather. They want to come in and have enough workforce to get that job done and be out of there. So depending on the type of roof system, asphalt roofing shingles are very quick to install. Tile is not. Metal is not. So those are different. But, you know, 85% of the U.S. steep slope market, residential homes, churches, things of that nature, are asphalt shingles.
Part of the materials is in the delivery and the application of the materials themselves, all right? I don't want to jump too much into the install, but I think that it's worth noting safety. But when you are a homeowner and you're thinking that, okay, I've got all these people that are now moving bundles of shingles that could weigh 70 pounds each up a ladder onto my roof. These guys are wearing tennis shoes and there's no ropes involved or harnesses. I think that might be alarming to some individuals. Is there reason to be alarmed? And is there things that a homeowner should be expecting from a contractor as far as safety is concerned, insurance is concerned with materials right here? Because I've seen these guys that are carrying up these shingles over and over again as they dispose of the old ones, moving around on a roof. I just think for a homeowner, that could be a little bit of an unsightly thing to experience for the first time.
Yeah. Insurance is first and foremost, right? Make sure that your contractor is fully insured and don't just ask the question, ask for the certificates.
Yes.
Same with the workman's comp certificates, workers' compensation, which is usually paid for through the state. And then they should be wearing safety harnesses, right? OSHA requires safety harnesses.
Yes.
So they should be in safety harnesses. There are times on a roof where you're not wearing a safety harness. When you get on the roof, you have to get to the peak to install the brackets for the safety harness.
Sure.
So there are times during inspections you're usually not in a safety harness. But when you're up on the roof working, you should be in a safety harness.
Is it wrong for a homeowner to ask or demand for a contractor to use these harnesses as part of their roof?
Absolutely not.
And I think they could be a little bit nervous about that because it's kind of like, I'm just a homeowner. But I really believe that it's important for a homeowner to understand that terrible things do happen. Roofing is a dangerous job.
Yeah.
And that you should protect your property. And it's not wrong to ask that question. And it's not wrong to ask for the insurance or to assume that the worst could happen during these cases. And we don't want to think about that, but I think it's worth mentioning here when we're talking about materials.
Going back 20 years ago, just 20 years ago, definitely 40 years ago, nobody wore harnesses. Even 20 years ago, it was starting to become a thing. Today, it's pretty commonplace with your legitimate contractors. They're expecting harnesses out of the crews, and it's, when the quality control guy shows up, everybody better be in a harness. Somebody's getting written up or fired. It's just not accepted. So, but there are still contractors out there that I'm sure that are not using harnesses. I see them on occasion.
And I would just advise that homeowners ask that question. Even if you're talking about maybe you don't know the names of the guys that are going to be on the roof, but what are your safety protocols for individuals that are going to be moving these materials onto my roof? And I don't think that's something to be overlooked because, God forbid, something does happen. And insurances have to get involved. Make sure that you've done everything you can to protect yourself and your property during this pivotal time.
Yes, I mean, the insurance is so important, and workman's comp. If they're not covered by workman's comp, the person who falls off your roof, you can be liable for that. So again, doing your due diligence and really understanding, it always goes back to having that right contractor. But don't just even if you trust that contractor and they've got a great local reputation, ask for the workman's comp, ask for the property liability insurance, the coverage that they have.
Yes.
Right? They should have a few $1 million minimum worth of coverage.
So there you have it, everyone. There is a lot to think about when it comes to just the materials themselves being delivered to your home. We've reviewed a lot right here into what you can expect to be, where they should be delivered, when they should be put on your home, the manner in which they can, the labor that somebody should expect, and also just what kind of people you should expect that are going to be at your job site to deliver and to really apply these materials. So if it's that time for you, you've already signed the contract, you're thinking right now, okay, your build day is around the corner, then this is the episode you need to rewatch right here or send over to a friend. As always, thank you for joining us here on Roofing Explained with our roofing expert here, Mr. Mike Feasel. Thank you very much. We'll see you on the next episode.